We're back.
Yeah, we certainly are.
Yeah, not like we haven't started recording multiple times today, have we?
No.
But we're on it this time, aren't we?
Game face.
We're not stopping now.
No, that's it. Whatever happens.
No more errors or outtakes.
We're just going in one go.
Yeah, it's in one go. Yeah.
This one, 100x, it's a good one. Multiplying the magic, Paul. And let's just be precise on this session was all about effectively identifying how you can communicate to others skills that you've got, or look at the organisation, like let's say us three, how can we multiply our skills to other people and let them learn? So that's the session today. Yeah. So we've been looking at it, thought we'd jump in, have a bit of a conversation around this. And I was going to kick off in terms of, so the Giant Platform is all about understanding yourself, learn to lead yourself, and you can lead others.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's all about understanding yourself first, like we mentioned. So it's about what sort of superpowers do we think we all have. But linking into that a little bit more in terms of us being, at times, we all can do things that we're competent at it, but we don't know how we're competent at it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect sense.
Do you want to add to that? Because anyone listening thinking, what on earth is he on about? How can you be good at something, competent at it, but be unconscious of how you're competent about it?
I think when you're unconsciously good at something, you do it without thinking. So you just do it. But actually transferring that to somebody else as well, we've got to have a skill. We've got to understand the other person's skills to be able to transfer the magic from yourself to somebody else effectively.
He's on it, isn't he?
Do you like it?
He's on it. I like it. And I think it links back into that, doesn't it? We keep everything nice and simple. It's about skills, habits, and behaviours. So linking into that, what do you think your own sort of superpower is, or your own magic?
So with me being a guardian, I like processes. I think I'm very good at following, like yourself, I'm really good at driving something forward. Once it's down on paper and once I understand it, I can drive, and I've got due diligence to drive that process forward.
Yeah, and develop it. So yeah, so
and you're a bit quicker than me sometimes.
No, not always, but because we all have our own different skills. Yeah. I think linking into that, I think my super skill is connecting people, bringing people together to solve problems, and then I have a skill where I can see things before they've even happened. And what I mean by that is, let's take Andy's Man Club. We always use that as a good example. When there were 6 of us, I always knew there'd be hundreds of clubs. Yeah. So I was always thinking about everything we was doing there was always about, can we be intentional in our time when we're building a process there, because the process we're going to have here can be multiplied to other places.
And going back to that process, I remember the early meetings that we had, and we was doing these meetings every month to see where we was going, how we're going to get there, and them processes that we had then was probably advanced for the 6 that was there. But when we look at them processes now and what we do now, it was all for a reason, wasn't it?
Yeah, always.
And it's grown.
Yeah, but it comes back to that. So when we jump into that with dating, what would you say your sort of super skill is around that then?
So I'm a nurturer, and I mean, being unconsciously competent at some of the stuff I do, driving a car, when you're doing your lessons, I remember doing my lessons thinking, how the hell do you steer? Get to a roundabout, check your mirrors, do the indicator, and do everything at once. And then when you pass, it just becomes habit.
Yeah, it's a good example.
You naturally do it without even thinking. Some of them tasks I do now are things like, I like dealing when customers have got problems. People seem to hit a brick wall, but I like that conflict resolution. I like dealing with people. So like personal relationships, conflict resolution, organising and planning. I enjoy them bits. That's what I feel I'm naturally good at by default. I don't seem to put effort into it. I just seem to do it naturally. And I like things where if somebody's not happy, why aren't they happy and what do we need to do to make them happy, whether that's a customer or a member of staff. I like them bits. That's the more like the personal side of stuff.
Yeah, and I think linking into that, because I work with the pair here, I think different skills from the pair here in terms of Dean's really good at seeing a problem with people before there is a problem with people, just from their emotions and how they feel. Sometimes even he can spot these problems with other people and neglect himself. Yeah. He likes to bring harmony and balance, don't you? And it's a unique skill. And then yourself, being a guardian, you have due diligence. So if I've come up with a mad or crazy idea like we had at the Man Club, let's open a suicide prevention charity in Hull. And when you think about it logically, and we roll back, if I'd have been a guardian like yourself, and you came as a user of the club, didn't you, at first, right? Yep. So it was never delivered to you like that. It was like, come here, we're going to do this thing. But if I'd have come to you and said, we're going to open a suicide prevention charity, we're going to open the door to other men coming in to us, and we're going to look after their mental health and create a safe space for them to talk, your first response would have been, how are we going to do that?
Yeah.
I had trained to do it. you'd have been like Liam Nielsen of Taken.
Yep.
I will find you. He would sit and grill me and do the due diligence. Scott's got that unique skill as well.
Yeah.
And ask all them awkward questions around loads of stuff that we didn't know. But when you're building something what's never been built before or doing something new, you need, sometimes you can go from a process up, of course you can, but some you need visionaries to come in and go, we're going to go down this, but I knew you was there anyway, and we'd fix it as we go along. We'd build it.
I remember us having early morning walks, and we'd go through the process of what we was going to do, and Leon had his vision of going forward like he does with everything, and I was grilling him because I wanted to know the process and the system, and I would be there, and sometimes he'd just go, trust me.
Yeah.
And I did.
And I've had
and
it with
it does,
before.
and it just trust me, and I did, and it all worked out, and then it got to a point where I trust him, and then I trust myself, and the more it's gone down the line, the more I trust myself, the more I have confidence, because he used to have a vision saying, we can do this, we can do this, we can do that, and I was thinking, now I do.
Yeah.
And that's over years, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously you're doing it. And I think same with yourself, and I think it links back into when we look at the framework, and I think it's a fantastic framework when we look at this, multiplying the magic. So it's that saying, so what is that magic, that unconscious competent skill you've got in something, right? So it first starts with documenting it, what that is, so unpacking it. And when we look at that, unpacking it, I remember when we first started working together, more formally, if you like, because if you think back to walking that tightrope of informal time and formal time, I used to pop in now and again, and it wasn't really formal, but then we started doing level 10s and other bits. And when we worked together fully and we came in the business, I remember your magic skill used to be fixing kit, didn't it? What you thought.
Yeah.
But we'd seen, Scott and myself had seen that you've got far more to offer the business and the customers by your unique skill you have. So we had to get you to transfer your skills, your magic of fixing things to other lads, but explain tools we did and how you got through that.
Yeah, that was probably the hardest transition I've done. I couldn't ever picture myself not fixing stuff, but I was just transitioning to another role of still doing the same thing, but talking to the customers and fixing their pains, still with technology, but making sure that there's a team underneath me to be the hands-on to fix them issues. I'm there to talk to the customer, find the pain, and then get the guys to fix it. But yeah, to do it, it took a lot of work because traditionally there was only a few of us before, obviously Leon joined the organisation. Everything was in our heads. We fixed things out of habit, unconsciously competent. Would just a problem would come in, we'd fix it. What we had to start doing was documenting what we was fixing, repetitive problems all the time. So it was like, we're getting this issue all the time. Let's document how we fix it. What do we need to do to get rid of this problem coming in? And we worked together. It took years.
4 years now, and we're still doing it.
Yeah, and we still do it now, to the point where I very rarely get stuck into the hardware side of things unless there's a need to. But yeah, a lot of, I won't say pain, it's just a lot of hard work of putting the right procedures and processes in place to make sure that we've got a team underneath us that can take them tasks away. We've got what we didn't think about at the time, which I didn't think about at the time, is I thought I was the quickest and the best to do that task. But as we grew, I understand that there's people out there. This platform particularly opened you up to see different people's mindsets and what skills they've got. And by doing this, I thought actually that person's going to be miles better at suited doing that task than I am. So we do that process, pass that to that user, and off they go. And we've seen to have got a bit of a conveyor belt of people doing different tasks in different areas.
I think the key bit on that is things that they actually enjoy.
Things they enjoy, yeah. There's tasks I've hated doing, but I've just done them because I've done them out of habit. And then there's somebody else come in who's actually, once we've documented it, not can only do it better than me, but actually enjoys doing that task. So I'm like, why didn't I get rid of this task earlier?
And I think linking into that, I think for anyone listening, any leaders, business owners leading, or even employees, once you understand your highest and best use, or your own magic or your super skill, trying your hardest to work in that percentile of 70% of your time should be doing that, or what we call your highest and best use, and 30% of your time should be doing the stuff like it's not your highest and best use, but you've got to do it. So like your expenses, your time sheets, your whatever it needs to be, your admin. But a good example is back to that visionary, and I see it. We do a lot of workflow automation and digitization, don't we? Digital transformation pieces. And my skill is seeing the future, and then I get really interested at learning about processes and then looking and researching technology that can fix it. I just love it. I could do it all day, every day, right? It doesn't feel like it's work. But where I'm really poor is the guardian piece, like UXR, is putting that down into a process and doing it. Now I can do it because I'm dyslexic and I have to have processes, so I can do it, but it takes me so much brain power. But I like to be able to go map it out, find all the resources, find all the training, find all the people who can do it and help it, draft out the process, and then use my connector skills of communicating that to somebody and supporting them to do it. Whereas I used to for years think, I've learned it all, I've wrote the process, so I'll just go do it. But it used to take me for ages, and I'm better when someone comes back to me and goes, we've done that process, but we can't make it work. We've hit a brick wall, and then I'll go find someone and try and explain that, how that works.
Yeah, it's you do it quite well. I think we've got various tasks and little mini projects going on at the minute where you've took them on and we're thinking how we're going to get this rolled out. But I think where you're good at gathering all that information from, because you're a connector. I've come to you with problems before and you're just like, actually, let me reach out to so and so, and you come back and you've got all this information, but you piece it all together quite nicely, which then gives us a platform to work off, which helps us resolve problems. But I think where I'm trying to get better at that.
You're getting miles, but you're a million times better.
But people...
You're doing it today.
Yeah. And it's just like the mindset of me when I was an engineer was, if I can't fix it, I've hit a brick wall, where sometimes you just need that person like Leon, where you go to them and somehow, because it's in your nature, you're a connector, you have avenues to go to pull in different resources. There's
a thing called Belbin's Team Roles, if anyone's heard of it. You guys are heard of it?
Yeah.
I can't remember how old it is, but I remember learning, and this is one of the things where I started and Giant's built fundamentally on these sort of, there are all these theories linked back to the same sort of thing. What Belbin's Team Roles is all about, we have different people who have got different skills, and he takes it on a bit more of a deeper level than this, in terms of, they have one called a plant, right? And a plant is someone where if you're stuck, you go to them because they're very creative and they can come up with loads of different ideas and they love problem solving, right? But there's only times you use a plant because they can make problems out of problems out of problems. So, like, for example, why do you lock me away in this room?
Yeah, because of that reason.
Because I make problems, right?
Yeah.
But I had to recognise that in myself, and Scott recognised it. So you guys know that you keep me away and you bring me into play. But on the flip side, it's understanding that if you've got someone who's a guardian and you go give them a problem that needs to connect with loads of people and be extroverted and challenging, and it's not going to be the best thing. So if I said to you, Paul, you need to go fix something you've never fixed before and go connect with all these people, how would you feel about that?
Oh, I won't be cool at all with that. I just won't be able to do it because I'm not cool in something that I need to know the process.
You like to be competent, don't you?
I like to be competent, yeah. I like to be competent. But in the last year, I've actually come on leaps and bounds with a load of different stuff. And when you talk about asking people and finding resources, and I've had to do that in multiple times over the last 14 months, which has actually been really good for me, because I was brought up at some time, like Dean said about his managerial, if he couldn't solve something, he hit a brick wall. I don't mind asking now. Different people, look, can you help me do this? Because nobody knows everything. Nobody knows everything, so you have to just get over yourself sometimes and just go and ask somebody, because there's cleverer people out there than you, and it'll enhance your business then.
Yeah, and I think it's learning that. And I think the hard bit is understanding that transferring skills for the people is amazing once you get your head around it. And I have Andy's Man Club to thank for that, because I think it was because what we do is so vital and life-saving. When I started to think about the magnitude of what we was doing, it was all about, if I can't open the doors on Monday and a man turns up and wants to use it and he takes his own life because I ain't opened the doors on a Monday, there's a huge consequence for my actions. So I thought, what due diligence, we need to document everything, the vision was always for me, how can this organisation in Hull run without me? And then what started to happen from a risk point of view, I started thinking, what if Paul can't turn up? What if the original people who found it with us, what if all of them can't turn up? So we need to train a backup plan. And we did that really early on.
Yeah, we did.
And then you think about it, in your role now, so just explain to people who might not know what you're doing now for your own business, Think Mental Health, doing first aid training.
Yeah.
But you're also doing another role within Andy's Man Club, aren't you?
Yeah, so my role with Andy's Man Club's changed. So I'm actually now project development champion.
Actually an official employee.
Yeah. I look after 17 clubs all around Yorkshire and right up the East Coast, right up to Scotland.
And interestingly, Dino, because I'm a director of it, he's now under me now, isn't he? Imagine that. How's that worked? How's that?
I don't know. I didn't know that.
So now we have to use this. You have to use this framework with it.
No, but interesting, he doesn't report into me at all. But the irony of it, we both started out as volunteers, and it's amazing because I see the effort and the time Paul's put into Andy's Man Club. Incredible, the work he's done. But what really excites me, and I've always seen this, is you love teaching and training.
Yeah.
So when you talk about apply, so if we look at this applying the magic, it says there's 4 areas that we've got to be intentional to multiply the magic, right? And it says number 1 is informing, so that's consistency of inspiring people and being effective. And you can have, when you're informing people, it's a bit like our level 10. We have a section that we're just informing, don't we?
Yeah.
And it can have multiple people. So, you think of like your town hall meetings, you call them. Yeah. You can use Google Meets. Massive companies are doing quick stand-up town hall meetings, or it can be quite quick, it can informing, right?
Yep.
Then you've got training. That's like focusing on connection with people and proper deep diving into the processes. And they're saying that you can only have between 13 and 70 people learning, which is crazy. But think about that logically, and you'll know this more. Online, yes, you can have more people training, but the power of feedback. And do you want to add about that in terms of training?
Yeah, because we've just, in the last few months, we've partnered up with a company that was, we've quadrupled their mental health first aiders around the globe, which I'm really proud of. But we did it via online, and the feedback you get back is great, but it's not as good as one-to-one in a room. And because of the online, and people are in different countries, but it's absolutely fantastic. So we've trained them. So there's been like 30 to 100 people on there, and obviously trying to get round as many people in a certain amount of time is really hard. So when you go to coaching and it's a smaller amount of people, you seem to get a better interaction. It's more powerful because you've got more time. People can express themselves more. People can interact with you more, and the culture and the power of the room by doing it with a smaller amount of people so they can interact is just immense.
I think that's what I always found quite interesting as well, because the challenge of our level 10 meeting we try and do a bit of informing. Sometimes we might do a little bit of training in there, but we don't have the coaching side of it for the real deep collaboration and accountability. You think them little, just mentioned, I'm running a couple of little spin-off projects, but what I'm actually doing, Dino, is I'm realising that some skills I've still got are on certain processes within the business where I need to transfer them. Yeah. They've got to go away from me, and we need to develop the other team. So the only way I can do that is coach the team and jump in on one-to-ones. But rather than trying to do it to many, I can pick out the different skills, and I'm already noticing the different skill sets between them, how they can work, and we can get more depth. But underneath that, again, you have what we call apprenticeship, so the capacity, the scalability, and the influence, right? So you'll have seen that from what we've done when we came into the business. Originally, you were trying to recruit people who already had the skill set, but the problem was you and Scott, the way you were delivering your service, you was delivering something that's never been done the way you guys were delivering it. So trying to bring people in to deliver something that you thought, because you had a CV, they said they could fix a computer, or they had the Microsoft certification, they still didn't have the special sauce that you and Scott had, because Scott's the techie in out and out. You was a techie, but you really cared about the people, so you built this really unique customer service offering, and the only way to train that is by bringing apprentices in at the level, get them understanding it, and then we go on to coaching, then we go on to training, then we go on to informing. Does that make sense?
Got that.
So anything else you want to add on that in terms of...
But in my past life and in production, so I was 30 odd years in production in a big processing factory, and we used to do like apprentice, one to three delegates at a time. So they'd watch me, I'd watch them, and then it'd go back and forth until I got that process, and then we'd sign it off and then move on to the next thing. We didn't really coach or train. It was more one-to-one process. It's ever since I've left that industry that I've moved on to the informing, where we've done workshops to 140 people at once and 200 people. Next month it's 600, so frightening, but we're going to do it.
Good.
And train and coach, we've done that all levels now. So yeah, they all have the benefits. Some are not so good as others, in my opinion, but I think they're all effective.
Yeah, it's different means and different modes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we've been a little bit busy because of the holidays, and we had our proper catch-ups, our leadership catch-ups, many our coaching catch-ups. But again, part of the reason I've been doing the one-to-ones with some of the guys on these little projects is I picked some coaching opportunities of problems we've got within the business, but using it as a formal time. Because what I realised when we did the session on informal versus formal time, you was saying you was bad on the formal side. I looked at it and thought, I'm actually dreadful. When I look at it, I did an inventory of, I spend formal time with yourself, don't I? I spend formal time with Scott. And I started realising that because I am locked in here and I am keeping out the way, even though you guys do delegate me projects, I was trying not to meddle in there. But actually, we've made Kieran a senior level 2 and team help desk team lead and things like that. Started speaking to Kieran, he's like, with certain skills you've got. So he said, just start booking a monthly meeting and get a project plan together. And then when I was reading this and doing the training on the Multiplying the Magic, I thought, what I'm going to do is, you've always said to me, you struggle of how you're doing it. So I thought, well, what would be a real good, if we look at it, inspirational or effective, I was going to try and come up with an effective way I could do it for the team and communicate that effectively. And then I was going to teach you that same process with the document, and that's what you've seen. And I think it's just trying to be intentional. And when we say the word inspirational, what I take from it, I don't know what you guys take, is I think it's just, I've got a theory that we're all scared. You've heard me discuss this many times at the Man Club. So in terms of people who turn up through the door at Man Club are scared to walk through the door, aren't they? Yeah. They're scared to talk about their mental health. They're scared to be vulnerable, aren't they?
Their anxiety really kicks in because of the unknown.
But I believe we're all born with that in terms of we all want to look good. We only save face, don't we? Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
In life, to learn any new skill, when we talk about the pit of despair, when you realise that you're unconsciously incompetent at something, it's like a really lonely place to be. So I think as leaders, back into our one unique skill I think all leaders need to have is to inspire other people to have hope. And number one, have hope that they can have a go and try, because we have to try these things, don't we? Like that story you were talking about when you just mentioned you come back off order with the kids. You're watching Dougie develop, learn to walk, fall over.
Yeah.
We have to make it safe for our staff to be able to develop and fall over and make mistakes. We've been working our vision statement, haven't we, at the moment?
Yep.
And part of that vision statement is, I'm just going to paraphrase because we're still working it, but we want a customer service vision statement so that if anyone new joins the business, what is it we do in a sentence or paragraph? And also if a customer asks what it is we do, what is it we do in a sentence and paragraph? And what we did a session where we all asked, what are 5 things in 5 words sum up? If people's thinking about ThinkCloud, what words would we want them to use? Right? Then we did like a sound cloud so we could see how big these words was, and then we used them words within like a vision statement. And we said we can't promise that technology will break or fail, and we can't promise that we will always get it because we'll make mistakes. We're humans, right? But what we can promise is that should the worst happen or something go wrong, we're going to rise to the occasion. And when you look at that, you're like, well, what does that mean? Like, why have you come? One of our values is we want to be honest, right? And I don't believe everyone makes mistakes. Now, in what we do, we really don't want to make mistakes. But then you wear processes like the 5 Whys, the Titanic sank. Yeah. People think it sank because of an iceberg. It didn't. It's because one of the rivets weren't welded enough, right? But they only discovered that because the 5 Whys. In IT, it's always breaking. Things are always going wrong. And it's all about best endeavours and trying to continually improve, like you mentioned, trying to fix things. So that's my take on that we're all scared and we need to inspire people to actually, one, have a go, get things wrong so they can learn. But what would you say?
I think for me, where I grew as a leader is, you'll probably agree with this, is that I used to hold, as I was transitioning out of my role into a leader from fixing things, I held people's hands too much underneath me. So although I was not fixing things, I was maybe telling people and walking them through how to fix things, but not really letting them think for themselves. And that put more burden on me because they knew if there was a problem, they'd just come to me anyway. So I was still fixing it. I was just telling them how to fix it. And I think that helped me take a little bit of a step back, reflect on how I'm coaching things. I thought they're not getting the best out of themselves or me by doing this. It was understanding the best way to coach people.
Which is hard, isn't it?
Which is really hard, yeah. And this platform's helped me do that just by looking at different people's mindsets. So, like, one of the engineers I work alongside with hates classroom teaching. So I had to sit one-to-one and spend time, like, right, this is customer A, this is the site. Now, we've got drawings of layouts of customers' sites. I could have sat there all day showing him a drawing and he would not take it in. So it was like, actually, let's book in some one-to-one time. We'll go to the site. I'll walk you around it. So visually is taking that information in. And it's just things like that which I've picked up on. Some people prefer for me to create a document and then they go off and read it in their own time and then they'll come back. It's just understanding how people learn, I think.
Yeah,
that's one thing.
I think that's one thing the Giant platform allows you to do.
It does, yeah. Yeah.
And I think when you evaluate what this session's trying to do, it's about how are you managing them expectations? Are you drafting up something what good looks like? Is the outcomes, what behaviours do people need to have? And I always remember, tell the story if you do remember it, when you were saying to me, I want to run my own business. And you was like, can you help me run your own business? And I was like, it's going to be really hard, but there's going to be certain things that are non-negotiables that you need. And I said, yeah, one of the things I do, it's just one habit, one behaviour that I do on a Sunday night that I got taught to set my week up, and you've been doing it for years yourself now, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
And when you first did it, you didn't take notes, you didn't do anything, and you was like, bloody hell, this is hard. But
yeah, so I do me journal every Sunday night, and I absolutely love doing it now. I plan my week ahead. I have my 3 big rocks that I need to go out each week because you know yourself, I was the world champion procrastinator. So I used to do 30 other jobs and think I was really busy, but the 3 big things was probably the ones that would enhance my business more, but those are the hardest things to do.
Do you remember that walk when your one big thing was open a bank account, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And how many months was it to open a bank account?
6.
6 months.
6.
And one of the hardest things I ever did because when you're coaching someone, what they say is you're not meant to give them the answers. And I'm trying to help coach, and I've read this book about coaching. I'm thinking, I just need to tell him. And I'm going, what's your big thing? He's like, I can't get the business. I can't start a business of this. And the penny dropped, didn't it?
Yeah, the penny dropped. And yeah, and like I say, I do attack my big goals now. I journal every Sunday and I do my CRM every Friday, and I keep that up to date because it's if you don't keep on top of little admin tasks, and I used to think that I'll put them aside because the biggest things was going out and doing other stuff, but actually that's crucial because that keeps you on track.
And people who don't know what the CRM is, it's a sales tool that you put. You run the business yourself.
Yep.
So if you're not selling, you haven't got a business, have you? But you love delivering. You absolutely love delivering, don't you?
Yeah, I love delivering. I love being out there. I love meeting people, and I think that's my magic. Well, I like to be in front of people, and I love talking to people and the interaction. Yeah, that's what I love. So actually sitting down and doing the admin and the CRM and
like building the quotes,
building the
quotes
quotes,
and that's where you two are quite similar. I'm the same.
You need a quote to get the business, and you need to have documents to have a business. But I was always concentrating on the other bits because I didn't like that because it was a little bit too hard. And then I always answered to people that I used to have like quarterly meetings with Scott and Leon and what you done with this, what you done with that. So yeah, it keeps me on track though. Even though I'm by myself, even though I do keep myself on track and I do keep myself accountable because I've got a good support network around me that don't let me keep my feet on the ground. I keep my feet on the ground.
No, but I think ultimately what this is about, and so to wrap up on this session really, is one, it's about discussing this with your team. So you're going to take this back into your team. We're discussing it because we are a team ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah.
But also, can you, and I'm setting you a task, can you implement this with, multiplying some of your magic to other people? So, for example, you're already doing this with the Man Club at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's about being really intentional around this.
Yeah.
You're doing it yourself, aren't you, as well, at the moment? And you've seen me start to do it with projects I'm doing. But the other key on this as well is don't forget to try this at home. And with the kids, with the wife, because it applies there. And I think it is so true at times. I had it where my wife's always done budgets and bits like that, and it wasn't until I'd use one of these sessions, and she absolutely hates doing it. And I don't mind doing it. I just thought she enjoyed doing it, so we just swapped that back off her, which I'd never thought that. I thought she enjoyed doing, but she didn't like it. But the problem is, when I look back, I've handled massive multi-million-pound budgets, haven't I? Yeah. So managing a home budgets, but we all have different skills, don't we?
Yeah,
and different perceptions and different things. So it's just understanding that, where we can apply that, who can do it and multiply that more. But any sort of final take-homes, any bits?
No, I think mine take-home, just what you mentioned then. We're implementing this into our team in here, out there as well, with on the floor with the guys. We're doing it. I think I might try it at home as well. Give it a go.
Yeah, I think it's been a real good one, this one. And I think transferring your skills to other people's crucial. Because sometimes I've been in industries where knowledge was power and people didn't share, but the business didn't grow either.
They're the chokehold, don't they?
And they get in a chokehold, yeah. So we've got to share our magic, because everybody's got a set of skills, and if we share them, then life's good, innit?
Yeah, and I think it was King Solomon who said this: "What's been before will be again. Nothing is new or original." To paraphrase, right? Yeah. And I think, we all have our unique skills, but for me, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And all the books you read, and they all, you've heard that phrase, stand on the shoulders of a giant. It means that someone's always come up with something. Like I mentioned, Belbin's team roles. We've got giant. There's always someone developing something else and feeding back, and that's how we become better, smarter, faster, stronger together. So that's going to be me checking out. I've really enjoyed this one, boys.
Yeah, I loved it. Paul checking out.
Oh, that's Dean checking out.
Hey, I didn't say. This week, one night this week.
Welcome to The Hack, the straight-talking smart tech podcast where we discuss the ever-changing world we live in today. It's time to start thinking differently. So tune in and buckle up for some home truths as Hull and East Yorkshire's very own digital tech experts talk transformation and change, focusing on people, process and technology.